Oh, it's moving so fast. No, it's not. But if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. And if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up on fitmentindustries.com.
What is that?
It's the thing where...
It's the thing!
Yeah.
The best part about living up north in Wisconsin, which is probably a question that nobody ever asks, but I'm gonna answer it for you. It's the fact that bugs stay small and the taxes aren't terrible. Trust me, it's awesome. You love it. It's fantastic. Another plus is that you get 6 months of hiding your body and praying that however you went into winter is ultimately how you'll actually make it out of winter. They call it like you gain an extra 15, 20 pounds. It's not really the worst way to go, but maybe you feel a little bit better about it. You look out there and you look at like states like California. Okay, no way, Jose. You gotta have the car finished. You gotta have it looking good. All the while, there are spiders the size of your hand just like creeping around the garage floor. And it's just not something I'm up or open to ever do. It's just not something that I don't want to do. Not today, not tomorrow. So how does this ever actually relate to a suspension company? Well, it's kind of like an ambiguous karate chop transition where we're gonna talk about it, okay? I'm Alex, Alex.fi on Instagram, and today's episode of What Happened, Karate Kick. We're gonna be talking about the company that was just making waves in terms of like progressive technology. Something that was just crazy, out of the bounds, just different, and something that just seemed to be like give you a little bit of happy dance. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, went full Terminator style and absolutely disappeared. We're gonna talk about exactly what, exactly how, and exactly what happened to AccuAir, and if they're actually back.
Now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Seriously though, Terminator is a great movie, 12 out of 10. The original is fantastic. Everything else, it's like lukewarm soda. But if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, be sure to do so. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers and it means the world to us. And if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com. We actually have a lot going on right now. We have a full build giveaway where you can win a Honda S2000 plus $10,000 in cash. We have a quick delivery promotion going on right now where we actually keep everything in stock so you can get wheel and tire packages to your door in as little as 7 days with our own wheels that we built for y'all called Artisa Artform Wheels. And we have Black Friday and Cyber Monday promotions going on all month long for the month of November. So if you've been sleeping on trying to pick up a set of wheels, tires, or suspension, if there was a time, is right now. Like if you wait, not much cool stuff happens in December. I'm just letting you know. And of course, let us know in the comment section below on what you'd like to see us talk about next in the next episode of What Happened. We actually interact with every single comment and sometimes I giggle at what you want. The W8 Passat is gonna get done in like 4 years. We've made plenty of videos of talking about AccuAir control systems over probably the past 3 years or so. From our original The History of series to build videos with their products. We installed it on our very own BMW E30, which was our very first Fitment Industries build, and it's on the Ferrari F430 as well. And even we made a video last year after the news of the Chapter 7 bankruptcy that was announced with the company. It had us all a little bit deflated, all right? What happened? What exactly was the impact of the virus in it all, right? And for some, why did it smell just maybe a little bit weird? And it's been one hell of a year and a half. And here I am sitting back at AccuAir, but in Florida, not California. There's an alligator in the backyard instead of a mountain, which is a little weird. But we're gonna cue the exposition, okay? Because this is important to touch base on just what exactly happened in the past so that you can look forward to the future, so that you know exactly what we're talking about. AccuAir Control Systems has been a brand that's been around for quite some time, about 19 years ago, essentially, by two brothers that we know as Dustin and Reno Keon. The then young brothers were involved in building a Blazer for their local automobile show, which is something that we've talked about now 2 or 3 times. Essentially, they wanted to build it with like the lovely, the Terminator-ish, the controversialness of what was then the I don't want performance air suspension. Back then, air suspension was predominantly just for show. I mean, outside of the commercial use, it was a show-driven product. And while the installation was relatively easy at the time, it didn't necessarily meet their needs to have something that was a little bit more advanced. I keep using the term Terminator, but I'm not connecting the dots. It was the fact that AccuAir built a computer. Terminator was a computer. You get the point. It was something that was much more dynamic than a simple air up and air down system, and it needed to be a lot more advanced. And so they ended up doing that. They wanted a more real-time customization, and as such, E-Level was born. And within the next 60 seconds, we're gonna kind of get through all of the history so that we can get eventually to the part that you're all truly wondering about, but we need a little bit more additional exposition. It's kind of like an anime. There's 900 episodes and 600 of them are filler. AccuAir Control Systems and their initial system sold about 1,000 units in the first 6 years of being in development, which was not really that much, especially as you consider how wide and how large the audience actually is for this potential market. And their intentional growth didn't really take off until the evolution of the E-level system, which could dynamically read the height of your vehicle in real time as the vehicle was moving and adjust the amount of air that was in the bag so that you could experience real-time dynamic air suspension while driving your vehicle. It was essentially based on the amount of weight and the road conditions that it incurred, and depending on how fancy the computer was at the time was how fast it could read and adjust the pressure. Now, in short, it bridged the gap between conventional air suspension systems, and at the time, instead of using pressure to determine height, it used height sensors and an ECU to determine height in real time. It was a more advanced system, but could also be considered kind of sort of like playing legendary Halo when really you just want to snipe some like grunts and medium and have fun and turn some skulls on, but that's besides the point. So AccuAir Control Systems grew from 6,000 to 26 and then a 76,000 square foot facility, which if you remember, we actually visited in 2019 when I had brown hair and a rental car that had a sport mode, which I chased an R8 through the canyon roads in. Mario got really scared because we almost flipped it. Now during that time, I filmed a video that truly touted AccuAir Control Systems quality, their attention to detail, their zero compromise mentality, which prevented quite literally anything from leaving their facility with a failure potential, or so most thought. And not even 6 months later after that video dropped, AccuAir Control Systems would go on to declare Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And this is where you would gasp. Now big rip to me. You know, I'm just trying to pretty much provide education on wheels, tires, and suspension. And all we wanted to do was ensure AccuAir's team the absolute best. That if they ever needed anything, we'd always be here. And our opinion on that has still not changed. So why, just exactly what happened to AccuAir Control Systems and why are they back? Allow me to set the record straight. AccuAir Control Systems is dead. And the company history, the hierarchy, the mantra, and the business focus for it died with it. AccuAir, without the two other words though, is back, and in name alone. You see, AccuAir assets were purchased by the bank in September of 2020 by an air suspension company known as Arnott. Now, Arnott is one of the very few OE plus air suspension companies in the United States that builds an absolutely incredible amount of air suspension components, kips, and coil swaps for air suspension vehicles. They are the OE guys and gals when it comes to air suspension. And as I sit here on a 22-acre playground with 5 or 6 buildings, Arnott is a 3-decade-old business that just knows air suspension and knows how to build it well. When Arnott purchased the AccuAir Control Systems assets, the only thing that came with it was what was at the physical location, the intellectual property, and that's it. AccuAir, shaving the last 2 words off of it, had to come back with a new company model, new staff, new product development, and a new location in Florida as the Chapter 7, while it ultimately surprised the staff back in March of 2020, ultimately led to the unemployment of all their staff and their location in San Obispo, California. It left people bewildered, which is like a nice word for it. But one thing that Arnott did right away with this monopoly buyback program was to find somebody that knew the driving force of what AccuAir was supposed to be without some of its shortcomings. In short, Ryan Rutledge, the now director of controls for AccuAir, really was brought in to build the brand back up. And Ryan was a part of the unemployment group from the 2020 bankruptcy and ultimately had the opportunity to take the AccuAir name and evolve it into something new with an absolutely massive company behind it that had the strengths and the very weaknesses that plagued AccuAir Control Systems. That is the proper way we're gonna explain this. You with me? So what did this initially mean for AccuAir, the one that you see now? Well, the first thing it meant was realigning what it offered, killing the CVT system because of its unreliability and refocusing the brand towards developing systems that worked well and had real quality to boot. Not perceived quality, real quality. Pair the technology and market need that AccuAir was filling with Arnott's operational and production capacities, and you pretty much get a Tinder match. The immediate introduction of AccuAir brought the new E+ Connect back to fix the issues with its predecessor and its wiring issues, returning back the VU4 that was initially asked for by the community for years, and the Endo T and VT systems. And even though I'm sad, Ryan has a big beard and he's scary, and said without a doubt that the AccuAir team just doesn't feel confident pouring resources back into the CVT system, and the product just doesn't align with the quality or expectations of the AccuAir brand. Now, it's hard to say, but it is probably the right thing to do. So what caused the AccuAir Control Systems to fail? Now, that's a question that lawyers, enthusiasts, and forum pages will all try to answer. Now, whether that's the overt focus on developing products that had way too much overhead costs like the CVT, or maybe it was the continuous pull of investors and founders clashing all the time. Maybe it was because AccuAir Control Systems supply chain was never healthy enough to maintain its vast dealer network consistently, or maybe it was a little bit of all of it all. I'm not sure. But what I know, and frankly all that I care about, is what makes any business special, and that's if AccuAir truly gives a damn about its community, which I can confidently say after this trip is that it does. Sure, there's no founders in AccuAir these days anymore. It's just Ryan and a few crucial others that are running AccuAir out of an office space and a small production facility, but they give a shit. The Facebook group where Ryan just responds to customer inquiries, even if it's on AccuAir control system products, because it's just the right thing to do, or if it's going to at least one show every month to help reestablish AccuAir as an air management brand name that people can trust and begin to lean on again. You can see it in what they're trying to do here, and there's a little bit of bad blood, sure, between what happened between 2020 and what's happening in 2021, but that's irrelevant to people like you and people like me. What we now know as AccuAir is in no way the same as legacy AccuAir, and that's not a bad thing. AccuAir has pretty much put themselves on a playing field to move forward. It's become enthusiast-driven again. It's become focused around making properly good products that you can actually buy. It's become, to a lot of people, it's become a genuine company again. So for me, I see it as an absolute win. But let us know in the comment section below on what you think about it. And of course, if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, like AccuAir suspension, let us know. Of course, you can check it out over at fitmentindustries.com. Drop a comment on what you think. Of course, we truly, truly appreciate all the support every single time we've dropped a video talking about this. We know that you guys and gals have wanted more and more information. We're really excited to get this in front of you. And hopefully, as we go into 2022, you'll begin to see us talking a little bit more about what they're doing, where they're going, and of course, you'll see the car at SEMA at their booth. No big deal. But by the time this video drops, that would have already happened. So that's actually not even that important when you really think about it, which completely takes out the entire outro of this video. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.